Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Crypto News Podcast. We're buzzing as always. And today, we have Matt McGuire on the show. Always love when someone named Matt comes on the show. Matty is the Chief Technology Officer of Caduceus and brings 18 plus years of leadership, strategic business growth, and development experience. Building on his strong development background, Matt overlays a passion for code and inventive solutions. He is a board and investor level pitch specialist with a background as a digital innovator and emerging technology thought leader. Matt has a hands-on, proactive, and integrated planning approach to his leadership. He's a team builder and a technical mentor with an impressive portfolio of award-winning work. Without further ado, I'm very pleased to welcome Matt McGuire to the Crypto News Podcast. Matt, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Matt. I think I'm going to take that intro and borrow it, use it myself. So thank you. Thanks for those nice words.
I love it. We're buzzing right now. Love to see it. You're in London right now.
Indeed, yes.
Is London back? Does London have its energy again?
London does. London's energy never really went away. I mean, COVID was super strange for everyone and everywhere, I think. But yeah, no, London's definitely got the buzz back. It's very busy everywhere now. What
happened with the sort of prime minister fiasco? That was a very quick, and my apologies. Well, I forget the lady and I forget the new man who is now in, but what happened there? Wasn't that pretty quick?
Yeah. I mean, it feels like we're getting a new prime minister every month at the moment, but Liz Truss, she was only in 44 days. And now we have Rishi Sunak, he's the third prime minister we've had I'm trying to think of this party. 4 prime ministers from the Conservative Party in the last 2.5 years. So a little bit wild and wacky. But it seems to have settled down now. I think the markets have stabilized, which is a good thing because there was a little bit of panic before. So financial markets stabilizing is always a good thing, keeps people a little bit calm. So
right.
Yeah, back on track, hopefully now.
Was that part of the reason why Liz quit? Because she sort of jumped into Parliament and realized the type of economic shit show she inherited?
I mean, I think the shit show is there to stay now, right? I mean, when you look at the economic situation we're in now, this is all post-COVID, right? This is a knock-on effect of printing money, borrowing money. Sorry, what they call quantitative easing is the professional word, but printing and borrowing money and then ultimately handing it out to people that aren't in work, which is the furlough scheme, right? And obviously, at some point, I'm trying to think of who the ally of Doctor Strange is in Doctor Strange movies. Is it Mordo? He always says the debt comes due, and the debt's come due now, right? And it doesn't really matter who the prime minister is. The debt's due, right? So we're seeing wacky inflation, which the government loves, because that actually reduces the debt. But at the same time, they can't let it run away with itself. So we're seeing interest rates going up. So I know the Fed put up interest rates yesterday in America, or it was Tuesday, and today. Thursday, the 3rd of November, the interest rates went up by 0.75 here in the UK too. So, these things are positive signs to the market. They help things stabilize, but it's just a knock-on effect of dealing with the pandemic and the financial situation we had there. So hopefully things will stabilize, but I still, the general feeling is it's going to be a bit of a wacky ride for 18 months or so.
It's going to be pretty bananas. Yeah, you and I are in the same yacht, Matt. I think we're looking at realistically early 2024 or end of next year before things start to get better. And that's probably best case scenario, which is never a good thing to see. During your intro, one thing that really caught my eye is your level of expertise regarding pitching and pitch decks. And that this is something that, as someone who wants to dabble in VC as I get older, and just in more, angel investing, whatever the term you want to throw out there, I always love seeing a good deck come across my email. Do you have any tidbits of advice, or do you remember looking at any decks and being like, holy shit, this is bananas. This company's going to be something special. Is there a secret sauce for building a really good pitch deck besides the obvious tell a good story?
It's a good question. Obviously now, I think I hate myself a little bit more for moving away from technology and into slideware, which is kind of sad that I move away from code over the years of my career, and you end up making decks and slides. But no, I think the key is just keep it succinct, keep it short, keep it punchy, anything that's long and long-winded, people just glaze over on. No one wants to go through that stuff, right? Keep it short and punchy. If you can get it under 12 slides, that's where you want to get it. Like, everyone knows what you're going for. If you're pitching to a VC, you're trying to get cash, just show them a good story, keep it short and punchy, give them the facts, be honest, and give them a good vision, and hopefully get them seeing your dreamscape of where things are going to go.
Did you ever have any crazy ones that came across your desk that you'll never forget? And I'm sure you've probably seen thousands of them. So
yeah,
bit of a tough
I've seen a lot of pitch decks. I'm trying to think some of the really good ones. Nothing that's really stood out and you've gone, oh my God, this is the next Amazon or the next Tesla or something. But no, you see a fair few. The best ones are always the short, punchy ones, the ones that are designed well, the ones that are really succinct and have the information just super easy to understand. Because ultimately, you take that deck that comes in even on that pitch, and then you send it off to other people for review, right? So it's got to be simple, straightforward, have all the information in there that you need. Yeah,
love it. Let's jump into your bread and butter right now. Your CTO at Caduceus, and you guys do a couple things better than most. One of them is metaverse development and sort of giving the user and builder a wide array of tools required to build in the metaverse. Can you give me the elevator pitch on what exactly you guys do? Because when I look into it, there's so much. How do you sort of distill that into one, just sort of what we talked about with the pitch decks? How do you distill that into a 1 or 2 line pitch?
Caduceus is the metaverse blockchain positioned for metaverse development, essentially, and metaverse growth. And that's everything around GameFi. And I think the unique parts of Caduceus and the real offering is that it's super high transactional volume at very low cost. And the advantage is we're also bringing decentralized cloud edge rendering to brands and projects and users that they can leverage and accelerate their projects into the metaverse while still enjoying and getting involved with the tokenomics of the Caduceus blockchain.
Okay. 1, that was very well said. 2, so many angles we want to take this. 3, let's start with the what do you refer to as the cloud edge?
Cloud edge rendering.
Cloud edge rendering. I see this all over Twitter. I see this everywhere. Again, this is one of your guys' bread and butter subsets. What the heck is that? What exactly does it do?
Essentially, it allows you to do difficult graphical computational stuff that you couldn't normally do on a local device. And instead of providing a real-time games engine to somebody, what you're doing is you're providing that as a video stream. So super similar to where Google positioned Google Stadia. Obviously, we now know that's getting pulled out of market because their business model is slightly different. They're trying to tackle the Xboxes and the PlayStations of the world. But where we see it as a value proposition is people can run decentralized edge rendering GPU nodes on the hardware they may have lying around after a big blockchain merge that just happened, and if they do, then they can run it on those nodes and provide that as a graphics video streaming service to the user that wants to have something on their thin client or their phone or a low spec device, essentially. And then there's a whole tokenomics model that benefits the video creation, streaming, and the video consumption side of things around that.
Okay, so just to make sure we're on the same page here and in the same yacht, the cloud edge rendering, if I am on my current MacBook here at home, I could run a decentralized GPU node and provide a graphic streaming service to someone else acting as a node similar to almost any other blockchain, using my energy to better the whole of the blockchain and to help others. And this graphic streaming service is the equivalent to some crazy, game that you and I would play or whatever that takes a lot of bandwidth. And so I'm giving up my bandwidth to someone else. And in return, I get incentivized in the native token.
100% that. So yeah, exactly. You provide your GPU resources individually or as a cluster to provide video streaming to a user or many people that want to have those high quality graphics renderings, but without having to have the hardware themselves. So you could stream something quite ridiculous to a mobile phone, for example.
And that actually just doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense because this is something that not a lot of people have. And without good Wi-Fi, like even just with that one barrier to entry right there, without good Wi-Fi, you're hooped. Like
Exactly,
what are you
but it's the barrier to entry to buy, a high-end gaming machine, or maybe the barrier to entry to get into whatever the metaverse is, whatever it turns into. Maybe we'll have some form of 3D space, and that 3D space, as we know, when you play any kind of computer game, gets pretty hungry. And if the barrier to entry is not just getting into the metaverse, but also buying hardware to join that becomes a pretty big barrier to entry, especially for large parts of the world.
How is this business model conceived? Like one of the co-founders, one of the C-suite members, perhaps, was someone just like, this is a problem that so many people have. Many people, I'd say there's more people that cannot versus can stream very high level graphics. It just seems like such a no-brainer. Why hasn't anyone done this yet? Who conceived this? Walk me through sort of the founding story.
I mean, it's not new, right? So obviously Google's been down this path with Google Stadia. Obviously their business model is very different. So they're targeting and challenging the console providers like Xbox and PlayStation. I think, it's not necessarily new, but I think now the time is right. So I think we've just been very lucky with the timing and getting it ready for this time, which means if you look at what's happened with Ethereum and the merge, you suddenly see a massive power saving. They say they're now using 0.01% of the power that was being used for mining that they are using now, which is huge. And because of that, there's a surplus amount of GPU resources available globally that were doing mining for Ethereum. And I think it's the ability now at this crux point to be able to tap into those power users or those farms that are doing those things and say, hey, you don't just have to mine a coin to generate revenue, right? Which becomes progressively harder and harder to generate that income. But you can now provide those resources that you have and generate a token for providing services. So it just changes the model slightly, but I think, it's a serendipitous synchronization of time and ideas.
Right. And the tokenomics model, you brought this up a couple different times. Can you walk me through it, the nitty-gritty aspect? That is one thing that our listeners do absolutely love. They love, and again, this is not financial advice, but they love knowing about tokens and how to potentially make money and profit, and understanding the tokenomics of said token is always a great way to at least have a little bit more data to make, a data-driven and smarter investment decision. So I'd love if you could tell me a little bit about the tokenomics of Caduceus.
Okay, so CMP is the native token for Caduceus, which stands for Caduceus Metaverse Protocol. We launched it about 3 months ago now, and it's listed on a number of exchanges with more coming every week or so at the moment, which is pretty good, but it's on Bybit, BitGet, MEXC, and there's some other big ones coming soon in the very near future. Essentially, CMP is a token that you can mine and stake, which is coming Q4 2022. And with that, there's also ways to leverage and use CMP token. And one of the things that we were talking about earlier was cloud edge rendering and how that ties in with that. So you'll be able to generate tokens for providing cloud edge rendering services. So that will be the time and power and bandwidth that you use for providing your graphics capability, and projects and users that want to benefit from that cloud edge rendering will pay with the same tokenomics. So they're able to collect those cloud edge rendering, whether it's a scientific research project that needs difficult cloud edge rendering, or a metaverse game, or something else that we can't imagine yet that will need those resources. Essentially, there's this harmony between tokenomics that are needed to purchase those resources and being able to provide tokenomics to those users providing those resources.
Interesting. And there's 1 billion in supply. I'm looking at the breakdown in front of me on the website. Was there a reason why, 15% went to investors, 9% went to core contributors? One of the things that I found very interesting was the mining supply, 50%. I feel like that's pretty high. Was there a specific reason? I guess, is that because the bread and butter of the product is the graphic streaming service, so you really need to, incentivize those people?
I'll do my best here. I'm definitely not part of the tokenomics team, but I think, there was a big desire to attract miners and hardware developers and just general software developers to the business and to the project. And I think it incentivized people if there's a large pool that can be tapped into.
For sure. Totally makes sense. Now, let's go back to the metaverse development as a whole here. what other tools do we need? Obviously, Caduceus is a great start, but sort of on the tech stack things, you're a CTO, you're a tech guy. What other tools let's maybe focus, we'll start with the enterprise and then maybe go to the end user, right? Where both users, both subsets can contribute to the metaverse as a whole. But stemming from the sort of enterprise B2B side of things, what does that tech stack look like if you're trying to build a metaverse or just want to participate? What sort of piece of software would you recommend for perhaps a Fortune 500 company coming into the space and wanting to participate?
That's super tricky, I think, because we haven't yet quite defined what the metaverse is, right? Everyone's got a different vision from it, from, Facebook, now Meta, through to other companies. Right. For some people, it may exist as a 3D interactive space like Yuga Labs and what they're heading towards. For other people, it might be, just a way of managing data and empowering users to own and manage their data on the blockchain. So it really depends on the angle that the business is coming in at. But I think the tools that we have from an enterprise perspective so Caduceus is fully EVM compatible. So whatever has been created for an Ethereum-based chain, or contracts that have been written in Solidity, or whatever has been done, they're fully portable and will work straight out of the box, right, on Caduceus. And we felt that that multi-chain approach was very important, and we believe that is one part of the future of the blockchain space, the Web3 space, and the metaverse space is definitely to be multi-chain, right? Not everything is going to be on one chain, just as web software that you use now, not everything is inside one particular website that you use. Right. People don't just use one social network. People don't just use one online bank. And I think the ability to be multi-chain and have a business able to integrate and connect with your products is a really important thing. So that's something the team's been pushing for a long time, which is the multi-chain approach. Obviously, being EVM compatible, we have everything there that needs to be done already. You can just use the existing tools out there on the internet at the moment. Some of the wider things we have an incubator inside Caduceus as well, which works directly with businesses or projects that may not have the technical skills, the business skills, or even the financial means to bring their project to life. The incubator's function is to empower and accelerate those projects forward. So that's something people can approach Caduceus about as well.
So that's almost like you come in and you and the team would literally just give the tools, resources, expertise, whatever's needed to build applications on Caduceus? Yeah,
or subsets of any one of those. Yeah, it can be money or skills, or even business direction or connections or strategic vision. We'll work with teams and projects and companies to help them, and that can be traditional Web 2 all the way through to crazy Web 3 projects. Yeah.
Big things coming, baby. Folks, we're going to take a quick break and give a massive shout out to our sponsor of the show, that is Prime XBT. And when we get back, Matt is going to discuss the current landscape of the crypto space and how banana lands it currently is. Huge shout out to Prime XBT, our sponsors of the show. I've been using them for a hot minute. I absolutely love them, as they offer a robust trading system for both beginners and professional traders. It doesn't matter if you're a rookie or a vet. You can easily design and customize your layouts and widgets to best fit your trading style. Prime XBT is also running an exclusive promotion for listeners of the Crypto News podcast. Use the promo code CryptoNews50, that is CryptoNews50, all one word, to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Again, that is CryptoNews50 to receive 50% of your deposit credited to your trading account. Now back to the show with Matt. Current crypto landscape, absolute shit show. We are recording early November. This episode is dropping early November in a couple days. What do we have to look forward to? What is going on right now? Is the current crypto market really just a reflection of the overall sort of macro, TradFi market? What's going on? You have expertise in this. You have history in this. You've gotten your reps in. You got boots on the ground, 18 years of experience in this space. Tell us what's going on here.
It's a good question. Where are we? Where are we heading? So, the way I explain this to anybody really is that crypto is the kind of the more wild ride at the end of the chain. When you flick a rope in the air and you get a nice kind of standing wave fly through the air. Right. Oh, yeah. Crypto's just at the end of that chain. So you might do a little flick with your wrist. So imagine traditional banking, as like the beginning of that rope, and you give it a little flick and you'll get volatility, and then you'll add stuff all the way down that rope, right? And it, right at the end is like NFT. Just before that is probably like crypto, and then you work all your way back through like wilder assets until you get like super safe. But so whatever happens in the wider economic market, whether it's high inflation, high interest rates, volatility, stocks and stuff going up and down. Look at tech stocks right now. I'd put that kind of like halfway down the rope. You've seen Amazon's taken a beating, Facebook's taken a beating, Tesla's down about 20%, 30%. But I think if you look at it like that, and then you look at crypto and NFT projects that go beyond that, they're just further down that rope. So when the rope is flicking and it's going really well and it's on an upward trend, it's like insane. No one's seen anything like it. But then when you're in wherever we are now, crypto winter or whatever we want to call it, it's that volatility goes both ways. So it goes up and down. So where are we? I think we're in a very strange time economically, globally. I've not seen anything like this in my adult lifetime. I do remember a bit of a financial impact in 1990, 91. And it was when I was a lot younger, but it was a difficult time for the world, right? Interest rates going up, people losing houses, and those kind of scary things.
So Matt, you wouldn't sort of jump in on you here. You wouldn't relate this to 208 at all? You think this is much worse?
Yeah, worse.
Why?
Yeah. 208 was just around housing. So it was about bad debt wrapped up into housing market stuff, right? So it wasn't a wider economic challenge. We didn't see crazy inflation. We're double digits inflation on a good day. It's low double digits, but in reality, what we have in the UK is something called the Consumer Price Index, which tracks standard staple products and tracks their price, right? But it doesn't track the wider volatility of more enriched goods, so more expensive products, for example. I think, no, this is definitely, 2008 was there and it was a challenge, but it really only affected one sector, which was like the banking sector, and that was caused by the housing market. Where we are now today, we've got the knock-on effect of quantitative easing, so borrowing, printing money and giving it out for free for 2 years. And that has to be paid back, right? So it's going to be a challenging time economically, generally, until we come out of it. Just like you said, I think early 24, sometime around then. So how does that have a knock-on effect into the crypto space? It just means that everyone's a little bit more timid about investing, about taking a chance, about growth, because no one knows what the safe bet economic situation is. So everyone's a little bit more conservative. You've seen that people pulling back, which is fine because consolidation isn't a bad thing. For companies like Caduceus or other crypto companies out there or other projects. It's just about consolidation and surviving what's coming out. And during that phase of consolidation, it's about building, listening, adapting, pivoting your business model, and just trying to come out of it when it is strong again and that end of that rope flips back up. It's about being ready and being poised at the starting blocks, ready to just smash it out of the park.
Well said. Yeah. Keep biddling and have that capital on the sidelines ready to be deployed when, what's the Warren Buffett saying, when there's blood in the water, or when there's something in the streets, whatever. He's
the only Buffett phrase I know is what did he say? He said the stock market is just a game of patience. It's just, and it's the same with crypto, right? I mean, everyone said crypto was over in 2017. You saw the crash, and you saw Bitcoin and Ethereum go down. Everyone's like, it's over. It's never going to happen. And then you see end of 1920 come around, and it's just the rope going back up again at the end. So. Yeah, we're in a bit of a global economic challenging time, but I don't think it's driven from crypto. This is driven from traditional finance, traditional money lending that's kind of broken the economy at the moment and making it a hard time. But it's not driven by crypto this time, and which is really good and really interesting because it just shows that crypto is tethered to regular economics, which isn't a bad thing. The more that they're tethered and the tighter integration we have between crypto finances and traditional finances, it's just going to create more longevity and more connected projects, right?
It's huge.
More fusion, 100%.
Yeah, the cohesion aspect is absolutely massive. Because we are already doing this, but before we talk more about the current crypto landscape, I just want to keep buzzing on sort of the TradFi, economic landscape. Which asset class do you think is going to fall first? Do you think there will be a domino? I know we were pretty close with the whole the Swiss. Oh wow, I'm forgetting the name here.
Credit Suisse.
Credit Suisse. Thank you. Credit Suisse, was one of the first ones to absolutely get hammered, and they're in bailout city right now. What domino is going to be the first to fall?
I mean, governments won't let traditional finance fail, right? Especially the big ones. They may let some of the smaller outlying banks disappear, like we saw in 2008 with the ones in North America. Governments won't let big institutions fail because they are an incumbent. They are institutions. So the governments will ensure that they're stable. And we've already seen that from 2008. So there's a proven model. The government won't let those institutions fail. Smaller outliers may fall down, but I don't think we're going to see, I hope we don't have like large institutions fail. I mean, that would be horrifically bad. I don't think governments will let that happen. I think that there's enough. I think with what we've seen during the pandemic is governments printing and borrowing money, and I think if needs be, they'll just borrow more money to
100%. Yeah, that's my not worry per se, but like most of my gunpowder is on the sidelines right now, and I would be so disappointed. And again, tomato, it is what it is. But I'd be so disappointed if the Fed comes out with a crazy high interest rate, higher than the next expected 0.75 bips. And perhaps a point and a half or a full point, which literally tanks everything. And then what do they do?
It's good and bad, though. It's good and bad. So high interest rates by the Fed also mean that everybody wants to invest in the dollar. So all the other global currencies drop down. We've seen that over the last 2 months with GBP and US dollar. Like GBP went down to 1.03 to the dollar, which is, for British people, is shocking, right? It's horrifying.
Yeah.
We're almost parity with the dollar. And, if you spin back to the 1940s, we were $4 to the pound, right?
Yeah,
and that
crazy.
only really changed in the 80s, where it became like $2 to the pound. And the fact that we're almost parity is like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I don't, I think high interest rates aren't necessarily a bad thing. It's just they need to be controlled so people who are borrowing don't get like absolutely ruined in a 3 month time window, right? Obviously, it's challenging for mortgages and stuff. So yeah.
But that was going to lead me to my next question for you, Maddie. What's the deal with the whole housing market? Because like I have friends who bought homes over the last 2 years. I'm 27 years old and turning 28 in January, and a lot of my friends' capital went into this. This is the time in our lives where this is when you get into the property market, and a lot of them did not go fixed and went variable interest rates, and they started and they're paying 2.5 points every 2 weeks, a month. Now they're paying 3.5, 4.5. What happens if it goes to 7, 8? Like they're gonna have to sell their homes.
Time.
But the trickle effect, and then you have someone like Canada, a country like Canada, who has, I believe, the highest household debt to GDP ratio in the world, because half of our economy is based on its home prices. It's like, what happens? And I know Britain's pretty bad as well. I know Australia is terrible. What happens when the shit show domino starts to fall over?
You got to go native. Got to go and live in the wild. Got to hunt. Get some face paint on. Just get out there. No, joking aside. Honestly, I don't know. It's scary. I look back at my life. I'm a little bit in a different position from where you are now. I'm 42. I went through that phase around your age now, where you buy your first place and you chuck all your money into. You chuck your equity in to, have as small a mortgage as possible, but it's still monstrous.
Yeah.
And then you pay it off, and if interest rates went up, it would have been really painful for me looking back at my younger self. I think that in a way, though, we've lived in a golden period, and I think we've been very lucky in that golden period. So if I look back at my parents, and the late 80s, early 90s, interest rates in the UK on mortgages hit 15%. Right. So, which is absolutely savage. Right. It was devastating. People lost their homes and lots of bad stuff happened. But, we've lived in this golden window where interest rates have been below 5% for a very long time.
Yeah, it's foreign.
Exactly.
Anything above that is, I don't even know what that looks like. I don't think I've lived long enough to know what that looks like.
And the thing is, nobody's actually lived like that, because beforehand you could only borrow 3 times your salary,
right.
roughly 3.5 times your salary against a higher interest rate, which was accepted because you borrowed less and the interest rate was higher. Your repayments were still kind of okay and manageable, but no one's lived through this. We've lived through a period of 15 years. I mean, a little bit less, maybe like 13 years of like less than 1% interest rates, 0.5%.
Stupid.
Look at Japan and the Euribor for the European central bank's tracking rate. They were both negative. They were negative interest rates from the central banks, which blows my mind. Someone's paying you to borrow money. I love it.
Borrow money. Yeah,
exactly. Borrow money will pay you. I love that. Amazing. So obviously we've lived through this strange time, and where they then let people borrow 4 times, 5 times, 5.5 times your income. So now when interest rates are creeping back up, and you've got the Bank of England and the Fed saying they're probably going to peak at like 5.5, 6. I hope that's as far as they'll go. What's the impact of that? It just means less surplus money in the economy, right? Because so some people are going to lose houses, unfortunately, and that's going to be really sad. But for the vast majority, it will mean less liquidity in the market. So less people buying stuff. And obviously we live in capitalist Western economies where trickle-down economics exists. So there's more money at the top of the funnel, at the hopper, and it just filters down through, right? So but that requires spending and surplus liquidity. If that surplus liquidity isn't there, everything kind of starts to like seize up a little bit. Your engine starts to run out of oil, right? And everything starts to grind a bit harder. And therefore, the companies will have a knock-on impact where they put up the price of their goods because they need to cover their costs. And that has a double impact. So, it's like a bad Van Damme movie. But I don't know. Everyone loves double impact. Everybody does. So it's a wild time that I don't think anybody's seen for 40 years or so. So is it worse than 2008? Absolutely. Can we ride it out? Yes. I just think it's going to be kind of a steady bit down and a steady up. There's no like epic crash. We're not going to fall off the cliff or anything, but we're not going to have a rocket launch recovery either. It's going to be kind of steady down for a while, then steady up. But hopefully the banks can sort their stuff out. Unfortunately, we need high inflation, which is going to be painful for everybody, but we need it because it pays off national debt, and paying off national debt means we can then lower everything else and then calm it all down later. So we're in a couple of years of stickiness, and hopefully it will come out, as you say, in 24, fingers crossed.
Another crazy thing about inflation is prices never do go back to their regular scheduled programming, and a lot of people, I don't want to sound rude here, but perhaps the less informed and less educated. Again, you and I are in finance. We're getting our reps in every single day. We both probably spend way too much time on Twitter. You know what I'm talking about. But those who don't fully understand inflation, it's not like the prices are going to go back to January of 2020. Like what you see in the friggin' grocery store aisle is what you are going to see. Best case scenario. It's still going to get worse. It's still going to get more expensive. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand how exponential the everyday Joe and Josephine item has become. And that's something that, again, all you can do is work harder, make more money, and sell goods and services at a similar price. Like, it's shitty, but it's the way she goes.
It's just the way it is. I mean, those prices are never going to come down. That's just not the way it works. And we can see that with the rising cost of fuel, right? Once they go up because of a production issue or a delivery issue.
Yeah, market manipulation issue.
Yeah, and then you can see, I mean, I don't know about the States, but or Canada, but in the UK, like our energy companies have just published record profits, like absolutely smashed it.
Similar.
It's like raining dividends. They love it. So, I think where it goes after that, everyone's like, it's like Scrooge McDuck of dividends. It's brilliant. So they're all diving through their money, but it's so, I mean, what's the knock-on effect is that there's obviously a delayed response of salaries that catch up with those rising costs of inflation. They're usually staggered by about 18 months or 2 years behind. So what does it mean? It means ultimately a lot of people start looking for other jobs. They start trying to change their jobs because you can get an instant pay rise if you change jobs, right? Or unfortunately, people start looking for second jobs, right? And that's the harsh reality of things when it gets tough and tight like this. It's you do whatever you can to make ends meet.
You got to do what you got to do. And Maddie, let's tie all this over to crypto. Again, way harder. The things that you just said, I agree with every single thing. The sort of predictions and hypotheses that you have, again, you and I are in the same yacht. And I feel like a lot of this is because there's more data. We have more kicks at the can. Society as a whole has been through recessions. No one really knows what's going to happen and what's going on in the crypto space. We talked about sort of the, TradFi and general macro econ, what's going to happen over the next couple of years. What do you think is going to happen for crypto over the next couple of years?
I think we're going to see crypto kind of like ebbing and flowing along. It's not going to be too crazy. I don't think we're going to see any epic crashes. People are moving money into safe areas. But then again, I've kind of got a bit of a gut feeling that some of the larger kind of liquidity pools in the crypto space, some of them are quite safe, right? Yes, there's volatility in them, but it doesn't mean they're not going to disappear. Like, we're not going to see Bitcoin and Ethereum disappear. It's not going to happen, right? So in a way, it becomes safe, volatile, but safe, right? Whereas if you put your money in a small outlying bank or some stocks and shares, you might see companies disappear, right? But I think that crypto is now so distributed. And don't forget, we're still only at 1% global penetration of people that own crypto. So as that increases, the market potential growth for crypto is massive. It is fundamentally huge. So if you tie massive potential market growth with high volatility, to be fair, it's still a safe bet. Whereas I think if you put your stuff in traditional stocks and shares in a company that might, look at Facebook, you would have said that, Meta, Facebook, 3 weeks ago was super stable.
Yeah, it was a shoe-in.
Right, and then they've just tanked 25%, and you're like, whoa, what the hell's happened there? Amazon's saying that they're not going to have great winter sales, but again, maybe that's a knock-on effect of the liquidity pool and trickle-down economics. But I think crypto isn't a bad bet at the moment. I think, yes, it's volatile, but I don't think it's going anywhere. We've seen the World Economic Forum and some world leaders who are associated with the WEF start talking about CBDCs. So if we're talking about, imagine a Federal Reserve central digital currency, the Bank of England, and so on and so forth, it would start to be very interesting, and that would only bolster where crypto is. We're starting to see that crypto is being standardized and adopted inside Hong Kong. You just have to be licensed to operate and trade there. But these things are really interesting. These things are good. These things are showing that the marketplace has now been accepted after it got rejected for so long. It's now being embraced, and we're finding ways that crypto can grow. And as I said, only 1%, give or take a bit, it is actually holding or owning crypto in the world. So I think the crypto space has massive growth ahead of it. I think if we weren't in times of economic uncertainty, we'd be seeing growth on the cards.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. My one, not issue, but the one thing that does, and again, I was someone who used to be fully pot committed to this narrative. I was also a fan of the Bitcoin as a hedge for inflation. And that's one thing that, like, if that narrative would have, and again, woulda, coulda, shoulda, if it would have stayed true to its core ethos, I don't think there's a more powerful narrative for crypto as a whole, because when Bitcoin rips, everything else rips. It's great for the crypto economy. It's great for the ecosystem, the landscape. It's proven that it is not a hedge against inflation one bit. And maybe it is. It's just we don't know yet. But like as of right now, it sure as hell isn't, because inflation's gone rampant and Bitcoin has halved more than that, lost 66% of its value from the peak. So, and again, I know it's not because of inflation. It's because of, just like you and I talked about, money is not, there's not a plethora of it anymore. It's not just flowing around. We're not just turning money printers on, and these trickle effects are hurting us. They are affecting us, but that is one massive, massive narrative, Matt, that I wish stayed true to its course.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it depends on the timescale that you're looking at. Like these, talking about the very famous anthropologist Simon Sinek, right? When he talks about the infinite game, it's what time frame are we measuring that in, right? Yeah. So if you measure that in, we're measuring that, let's say now in a 2-year time span, we'll be like, oh my god, Bitcoin's the worst, right? But if you measure that in a 10-year time frame.
Oh, it's the goat asset.
Exactly. It's like, whoa, should have bought more of that. Right.
But that has nothing to do with inflation, though. You know what I mean? It's just when people talk about crypto who don't know a whole lot about it, what's one of the first narratives I always hear? Oh, Matt, is Bitcoin a hedge for inflation or a hedge against inflation? Blah, blah, blah. And back in the day, I would have always said yes, yes, yes. Now I don't know. Right? I can't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there's enough data to make crypto hasn't lived through enough economic times of volatility. So crypto didn't really live through 2008, right? 2007, there was 2017, there was a kind of a little one.
Sure.
And now's the first time, this is the first kind of economic turmoil that crypto's had to go through.
Yeah.
And we need at least 2 or 3 of these over the next 20 years, 30 years, right? Because they usually come every 7 or 8 years. We see some kind of economic up or down. We need more data. We need more data long term to look at it and say, how does crypto survive economic challenges? What happens in a downturn? What happens in an upturn? I just don't think we have enough data. We're looking at it at a very thin slice. And I think what we need is a wider macro data view.
Matt, this has been an absolute treat, man. We really appreciate you coming on. I know we're getting tight for time. A couple more questions, and then we will wrap up. Let's jump in the hot take factory. Let's put our shit kicking boots on. Give me a couple hot takes that only Matt believes in that no one else does. Doesn't have to be crypto or econ or finance related. Can be sports, politics, food, geography, space, you name it. A couple hot takes. Our listeners absolutely love them. And the other Matt on the other end of the mic loves it as well.
I love them too. You might have to give me some back after the call. What do I think? I mean, I read about the SpaceX IPO that might be coming up in 2023. I mean, this is exciting. I mean, that's something I've been keeping an eye on since they sued the government and won, and then started to get lots of contracts. I mean, they launched cheaper than anybody else. They send humans into space. The only other people that can do that are the Russian Soyuz rockets. It's kind of a no-brainer. I'm just waiting for. I don't think SpaceX might not float till a few years later. Sorry, I was thinking about the wrong one. Starlink might be 2023, right. which is an interesting business. I think that's an interesting business case of where it sits. I think Starlink has a unique offering. No one can compete because they can't get satellites up there that cheaply. Yeah. If anything happens to the global fiber network, we've seen some issues going on with some pipelines recently between Russia and EU, oil pipelines, and we've seen some other things going on. I mean, nothing's going to happen too crazy with the global fiber network, but I think if you live outside of cities or you want to travel and have decent internet, like Starlink is the only company that can give that to you. There are obviously traditional cell satellite networks like Iridium and some of the others, but I think if Starlink IPOs next year, I'm going to be personally looking and seeing what's going on and following it very, very closely. SpaceX, I mean, I think there was talk of it IPOing, but I think that's probably a little bit further away. Trying to think of some other interesting stuff.
Both those shares are on the private shares, obviously they're not public yet, are trading at not multiples, but pretty high premiums on the market. And you got to know someone who knows someone kind of thing, because no one wants to sell. So
yeah, my wife's cousin's brother works for SpaceX. So sorry, my wife's cousin's husband works for SpaceX. So he has a very cool job, and he's ex-Air Force, Space Force, and he's a really cool guy.
So
and
cool.
He just exudes cool as he walks about. So very nice. But no, I think obviously all the employees get private shares there, and they're trading super high. So they're both really interesting companies. And obviously, being a technologist, I find it a lot easier to follow tech stocks and tech companies. Amazon's not going anywhere. Right. Like, I don't know what people say. I don't know. I personally don't know why it's gone down. If you look at the growth of Prime subscriptions over the last 5 years, Amazon's not going anywhere. Like, everybody orders stuff on Amazon. No one can be bothered because ultimately humans are lazy, right? And we just want to get shit tomorrow. So I'll do it through an app where I don't have to think, don't have to walk anywhere.
And it's also, I look at Amazon the same way I look at Apple. It's one of those businesses where a lot of people genuinely couldn't live without the product and speak so highly of it. It's like, pardon my French. I fucking love Amazon. You know how nice it is. I'm on it's 1:30 p.m. for me right now. I could have a package at my doorstep by the crack of dawn tomorrow morning.
I love it. I love it. I mean, obviously, there's ethical things around it, like carbon footprints, all that stuff, but you don't give a shit about that at 1:30 in the morning. You're like, just bring me, I need my shit by 8 a.m.
Exactly.
Like, I need some Pop-Tarts by 8 a.m. Come on. right? And then they're there, right? So Amazon just plays into human nature, which is convenience. So I think that's a long-term winner, right? I don't think it's going to be drastically rapid and like flying up and giving you massive returns in months, but super interesting. Facebook Meta, I don't know about this one. I sit on two sides of the camp here. Yes, they generate revenue through advertising, which is super cool, and that's their business model. But I've got 3 kids, right? My first one's about to be a teenager, and my other 2 are a little bit younger. But I don't know anyone under the age of 30 that uses Facebook.
Oh, they don't. Right? I'm sure your kids are on what, TikTok and Insta?
Other stuff, just other stuff. I mean, exactly. They'll just be on other social networks. But I speak to like some teenagers, friends of my kids that are slightly older, and I'm like, "Do you guys use Facebook?" And they like scoff at me. No, not using that. That's for old people. And I'm like, oh shit.
It's boomer shit.
I think I've still got a Facebook account. Shit, I'm old.
Yeah.
So. No, they don't use that stuff. Obviously, Instagram's super popular, which is a revenue stream for Meta, and WhatsApp is super popular as well. But anyone of a certain age group and below don't use those services. So I wonder about their long-term stock value, and how it will convert and how it will look like in 10 years or so. I don't know what's going to happen between now and those 10 years. But if you just look at human trends, like generally what gets adopted in the technology sphere is what's used by the younger generations, right?
Yeah, they start the parades. I have a thesis about Facebook where it's like if they charged $2 a year for WhatsApp, I think WhatsApp has like 1.8 billion users. Like you just added 4 bill to your 3.6. So the 3.6 bill to your balance sheet just on one thing, and that costs like think about the ROI on that and the margin. That's like a 99.99999% margin. So easy. Who wouldn't 100%. Do that?
I mean, then you're just following what Elon's doing with Twitter at the moment, right?
Exactly.
It's like, if you want a blue tick, if you want to look like a big daddy, then you want to have your comments go to the top, and you want to look like a OG gangster, right? Then you pay $8 a month. But I think messaging services have other value. I mean, I don't want to go down a conspiracy spiral, but obviously WhatsApp's allowed to function in countries because they give decryption keys to governments, right? Just as BlackBerry was forced to with BlackBerry Messenger service. So WhatsApp is allowed to function as long as governments have a backdoor into all their messaging services. And governments like that stuff. So I'm sure governments will make sure that WhatsApp doesn't go anywhere. And if someone needs money, I'm sure the governments of the world will unite and go, Zuckerberg, do you need some cash? Are you a bit short? We'll sort you out. Don't worry.
Yeah, crazy. Matt, what a treat, man. Really appreciate you coming on. One thing that I always ask, and I know it's so cliche, but I've gotten more into football over the years. I always ask my British guests what team they support. Who do you love? Who do you support?
Not a football fan, I'm afraid, which is probably unusual for British guests. But I've been pseudo adopted by my brother-in-law, who is a big Arsenal fan. So
good season for the Gunners.
He now lives stateside, but still has season tickets that he won't let go of because he absolutely loves them as a club. So every now and then when he flies back, we do go to an Arsenal game together. So it's good fun.
Love that.
Take the kids and stuff. So that's cool.
It's a question I always ask, just because again I've been to games in Europe, and that's something that like there's nothing close in North America that replicates European football. It is on a whole nother level. When my friends ask me, "Oh, Matt, how are the games?" and I say you can't even drink inside the stadium, like they're like, "What?" Because here they literally will pretty much give you an IV of pints, right? You can just load them up all day and get absolutely destroyed. No one bats an eye, and then again,
you can. I mean, you can do that at the cricket. At the cricket, they'll just give you pints.
So, really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess if it's like 24 hours long, they have to. But yeah, I'll never forget.
5 days. Some of the games are 5 days. I mean, it's insane.
Crazy. Anyways, Matt, really appreciate it, man. Before you leave, please let us know where our listeners can find you and Caduceus online and on socials.
Can do indeed. So if you head to caduceus.foundation, that's kind of the core website, and then just search up for Caduceus on Twitter. All our main information is there, and you can find everything you need to. There's press releases going out almost every day of new content and new items, and some of the new partnerships that are coming through. But yeah, just find us on our website, dig up the socials from there, and then engage and interact. We've also got a big community on Discord. You can come and join that as well.
Matt, thanks a lot, man. Really appreciate it. And can't wait to have you on for round 2.
Cheers, Matt. Thanks very much.
Folks, what a great episode with Matt McGuire from Caduceus. Dropping knowledge bombs left, right, and center. We absolutely love to see it. Do go check them out. As always, I will include everything in the show notes. Really hope you guys love this one. If you did, please do subscribe. It would mean the world to my team and I. Speaking of the team, love you guys. And to the listeners, you are the GOATs. Love you more than you know. Keep on growing those bags and keep on staying healthy, wealthy, and happy. Bye for now, and we'll talk soon.